So today we're at a pediatric physician's office, and we're going to be installing some circuits for their server room. They were having some issues previous where the breakers that are feeding multiple areas were also feeding an important section of the server room. So we're correcting, they called us out to figure out why they kept losing power in that area, and we were able to determine that there was multiple circuits required additional above and beyond what was there. So that's what we're here to do today, and if you want to follow along and see the process of installing a dedicated circuit for a server room, stay tuned. You gotta get this close. I'm gonna grab this with the magnet.
Go.
Delta 2. Same you got in the office. Right? This is a lot better than the Klein one. Put some glue on it.
All right, so this is just, I wanted to take a closer look at the situation here. This is a surge protector. And usually one thing also about the surge protector is you're going to want that to be as close as possible to where the feeds come in. Most manufacturers will outline that on their installation diagram or directions. So, but they have it on the bottom here, and then they also have it where there's two wires jammed underneath one screw. See there, you got the black wire and the blue wire there going under one screw, got the black wire and the red wire going under the other screw. The other aspect of this is three-phase. So this surge protector is only actually providing surge protection to, I'm not sure what legs that's going to be, B and C legs. Because the next one down is A leg. So this is going to be on, this is A, B, and C. So this is only getting surge protection on B and C. It's not a three-leg surge protector. Now, I don't know if they took that into consideration and they made sure that that's where the components they're trying to protect are on B and C leg. I don't know, but the fact that it's double tapped and also it's only a single-phase surge protector doesn't give me a lot of confidence that the electrician took that into consideration. So we're going to bring that up to the ownership here, the people that hired us, and we'll mention that we found this. A couple other details in this panel here is it's, like I said, three-phase. This is A, B, and C phase. This is called a delta-delta, which means that you have 110 to ground on each leg, and then this one has 208 between phases. So, and why we call it three phases, this is one phase, going between two is one phase, so you can go, those two is one phase, those two is one phase, and then the third phase is back from A to C. So A to B is one, B to C is one, and then A to C is one. So there's three different configurations you can come up with to get to come up with 220 volts. Now, when we refer to single phase, there's no two phase. We refer to single phase because you have A and B, and that's the only two phases you could go between. So, like, let's say this didn't have this third leg here. You go to A and B, and that's all. There's no other configurations you can come up with. So that's why it's called single phase. But that's just a couple of the points in this panel here. One other issue I wanted to kind of point out here is the fact that they have zip ties or bundling hot wires. You're not allowed to bundle hot wires in a panel or anywhere for that matter. You're allowed to bundle neutrals, which is this white wire, so that one's okay. And you're also allowed to bundle grounds, which is these green wires. But you can't bundle greens with hots, or you cannot bundle multiple hot wires together. what that does is it creates a hot spot, and it's a code violation. So that's, there's a couple little, now one thing you can do is when you install the panel initially, you could bundle the hots like that, but make sure you cut them, because if I cut these right now, you'll see that the wires stay where they're put. See, it ain't going nowhere. So you can, and it will do that in the beginning as well. See, so we'll cut all the bundle ties off to make sure that there's no ever an issue with that. So just
Hold on. Go.
just a few issues with this panel, but at the end of the day, obviously it's done its job for quite a while. I'd say this panel's probably at least 15 or 20 years old, so it's done its job, and we're going to go ahead and add a circuit to this panel so we can add a circuit for the server room, dedicated outlets that are required in the server room. So that's what we're doing here today, and we'll have you follow along as we move through the process of that installation. So this is what's called the firewall, and when this door closes, it will prevent fire from being able to spread from one section of the building to another section of the building. Depending on how many people will gather in a space in a given 24-hour period is what dictates the level of fire protection required by the fire marshal. So these doors here can be closed, and they'll limit fire's capability to spread through the space. Now this is 5/8 fire shield, at least one layer. Sometimes there's 2 layers, depending again on the level of fire protection required. These walls are not firewalls, but if you look, the hallway is separated in a couple spots by the zones of fire protection. Now, when you penetrate a firewall, you need to make sure, if you look up here, how it's been mudded around each different trade has penetrated through, and then they mud around it. There is some other combustible wires that pass through that were done by a different contractor, but we're going to pass through our MC cable through a 1/2-inch EMT sleeve, and then we will also foam around it with or use fire caulk around it. So that way it maintains the integrity of the firewall, and we're following code correctly. So as you saw earlier, you saw me check the voltage on this panel, and that's important because in the 3-phase configuration, there are situations where you have a high leg, either on the B leg or the C leg, and you cannot install a 110 volt breaker in any one of those spots. So for safety, we always check those voltages. And when it's a delta-delta, we can use any one of the A, B, or C leg. And in this configuration we can. But if it was a high leg or a wild leg, we would have to dodge either the B or the C leg depending on where they put the high voltage leg. One other thing is we happen to have spare breakers here that they're not being utilized. If you want to come over here, you can see there's no wire under this breaker here. So that's the one we're going to go with. There are a few other breaker spaces available. However, this panel is getting close to capacity, but you still have some availability for future upgrades if they ever needed to. And it's important to, when you install a new panel or you remove and replace a panel, that you leave a few spaces open. Code dictates on a brand new property that you have to have, I think it's at least 2 additional breaker spaces available. That's setting the bar kind of low. I think it's important to have a few more than that available on a brand new build. But this one has a few other spaces, so they do have capacity to upgrade. And that being said, now another thing is safety of, we have children around, so this is a pediatric facility, so making sure that we don't leave the panel open at any point without a certified or capable electrician here to make sure that it's safe. So we're having to open it and close it, open it and close it. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions, or you guys are curious about something, or I didn't go over something, go ahead and make a comment, and I'll do my best to answer it.
So we try to find a fastest route to run this cable all the way through this hallway. There's a bunch of stuff inside the ceiling, so we try to make like the straight shot we can get, and then attach it and strap it up inside the ceiling. So we're gonna start running this all the way through, and then we take care of the ends. Yep, we're tying the MC cable to the end of some fish sticks so that we can open the ceiling tiles and just jump from ceiling tile to ceiling tile. It gives us a little more reach instead of just handing it to each other. There's all kinds of stuff everywhere. I got it. Yeah, that's fine too. That's what I was saying. There's a million different ways to strap it up here. We do a clean. Should be on top of everything. I don't think it went through it. Yeah.
Do the outro here, okay? Actually, no, never mind.
It's a little too thick.
I need a PC to MC anyway.
Alright. That pipe.
You'll frequently see guys strip MC cable like this. So what they do is they bend it, snap it, run it backwards for a second, and either they'll use their dikes, which they're dikes. Maybe not anymore. So they'll.
Here you go.
Thank you. So they'll cut it like that, strip it off, and then they'll cut it again like this to get it relatively nice and neat. The problem is it's a little bit sharp right there. There is a part called an anti-short or a red head or a red cap that you can put in there that seats. Hang on, I'll show you what that looks like. So this is called an anti-short, and it's very important always to have this in. And you put that in there like that, and then you the male adapter. And then you put the male adapter on there. But even still with the anti-short there, if it ever were to come out or anything, there's a danger that sharp edge could potentially abrade the wire or cut it or wear it, you know, because wires do vibrate at a very high frequency, 60 hertz as a matter of fact in America. But, you know, it vibrates very... You know, you wouldn't be able to see it, but it does. So over time, it could potentially wear, you know, short in that spot. That's why these are called anti-shorts. So it's important that the anti-short is there, but it's also important to cut the MC cable the way that the manufacturer and the code book specify. This is actually a pretty old MC cutter. This was my uncle's, so you put it where we're going to end up having it there. strip that off. And now if you look here, the way that cut it, it's a nice straight line that's parallel with the wire. And with the anti-short there's a less likelihood of having a situation where the wire gets a short circuit right there. And incidentally, it's very difficult. Like, let's say you wire a whole building, multiple circuits throughout multiple rooms, all with MC. And what ends up happening is, if you have a short right there when you go to energize the whole project, it's very difficult to find that short because it's difficult to access that. It's difficult to troubleshoot it. You end up just having to rerun whole entire circuits. I've had it where there's been multiple shorts when I was doing a hot check. They couldn't figure out the problem, so they called, and I went over and troubleshot it. But anyway, it's important to use the right tool for the job, to install things as per manufacturer specifications, and make sure it's always done to the best of your ability. You don't have a Okay, pull it back a little bit. All right, now push it down. Got it.
That's it.
So we're just wrapping up over here at this Pediatric's office. Got the circuit ran for the server room. It was a nice place to work. You get to be around the kids and stuff. It always brings joy to see that, and you see a little kid run by or something like that. One specific situation that happened that was cute and sweet was a little girl who was a little older, didn't like seeing her little infant baby brother get a shot, and that exact situation has happened before with my kids. So it's just just fun to be around that. But got the situation handled for them. They'll be happy. They won't have any issues with the server room. The power's more than sufficient. So stay tuned to the next episode. Any questions? Go ahead and drop down and put them in the questions there or the comment area, and I'll do my best to answer.